the Dactylorhizas really bring value to the garden because the flowers last for such a long time. They go on, and it's not so much that each individual flower goes on, but it's because there are so many flowers on the spikes. The flowers at the bottom here open first, and here you can see they've gone over. They've been out for probably a month. I could check back and see. And then they gradually open up the spike, so that as we move up the spike, the flowers are getting older or younger, fresher, until we reach the top. And these ones at the top are only recently just come out, so they'll go on for some time yet. And that's the ones in the trough down there. You can see a couple of white seedlings. Really exciting. There's one there, and there's another one down the side there. You can just see through there. Come around into the slab beds. It's a kind of quiet time in the garden. See the start of the late summer and autumn flowers. Cyananthus lobatus coming out. That's a big mat at this end of the slab bed. It'll just become a mass of blue, and these flowers will keep going right throughout August, September and into October. And then up here, slightly later in flower, but Cyananthus microphyllus, the smaller foliage, more compact form. And down here in the front, another Himalayan, the beautiful yellow flowers of Hypericum reptans, slightly chewed, but they've got these lovely red buds, red stripe on the back of the bud, and when they open they've got the typical beautiful yellow Hypericum flower with that red stripe on the back. So it's a very stylish, beautiful plant, and again it just cascades down over the edge of the raised bed, down that side and all down this side. It really is a great plant. It's a great plant as well because it sort of hangs. If you can just get down and look up at it, you know. So if you've got a wall and have it cascading down a wall, you can look up and see it. It's really a superb plant. You can raise it from cuttings and seed. So if we come back, more troughs with Dactylorhiza still going on. Round in this raised bed, these ones are starting to go over. Always with my wild plants. Dandelion leaves in the corner, my pet dandelion, but what about the feverfew? A really beautiful plant. It's growing there at the base of a sorbus. Not much else would grow there at the edge of the path, so it just creates this beautiful display at this time of year. And similarly we let the Papaver somniferum, the opium poppy, it just seeds around. Oh, look at the, attracts the bees. Look, we've got a bee going in there doing its bit. That'll ensure we get some seed. Busy collecting. So we've got different colours. There's one colour form there, these slightly darker. You get paler ones, and then round here you've got this multiplex form. I'm not sure if I like that or not, but there we go, multiplex. And that continues round across the erythronium bed. And these are the same, these tiny little ones, depending where they grow and how much feeding they have and how well they've grown, and whether they get to be big and tall like those or stay small. Round past the rock garden, Mechanopsis, flowers are over with certain seed. Some of the dwarf, the smaller Roscoias, they are the Roscoia alpina, and the paler pink Silifolia. But I want to go up the garden, and I want to head up towards some of the new areas, past everything. A lot of leafy growth. It's a quiet time in the garden in many ways, with the flowers going, many of the spring, that dynamic spring flowering's over. We're in the summer, but we've got interesting foliage all around. The lovely ferny foliage of Corydalis and Dicentrus. There's all sorts. There's so much to cut back. The rhododendrons need trimming back. Early growth needs to be cut back. We need to get into the hedges and pruned. and some of the trees, the canopies and some of the trees need to be lightened. So lots to do, but I want to head up here towards the new areas I'm working on, and the new bed through the gate here that you used to start to get a view of, which is where we used to have the boxes of polystyrene boxes with erythronium bulbs in to propagate them up. So I've made that new bed, but before I stop and look at that, let's turn round to the pond, past the Pinguicula island, protected by its bit of wire mesh to prevent the birds stripping off the moss like they did in the spring when they were nesting. So we're going to move round here past a tree in a pot. You could say a bonsai, but it's not really bonsai, it's just a tree in a pot. The nice wee campanula growing at its base. And so it's still a work in project, but this is the little marginal bed I've been building along the edge of the pond here. These slabs that are still waiting to be moved, they used to sit across here, across that edge, the same as around the rest of the pond. You can see the slabbed edge around the pond. But I wanted something softer here. I wanted a new environment. I'm always looking for new habitats, new environment. So I've created this one, just lifted off the slabs, and there already was a raised area of bricks for the slabs to sit on. And the liner, this is the butyl plastic liner, that comes right over, and it comes under this bed. So this is a marginal bed. It's going to be quite boggy, quite wet, so it's planted with sedges and grasses, ferns, some primulas and Meconopsis, and Dactylorhizas. You might wonder, well, will they survive in this? Well, yes, I think, because on the island you can see how they've survived on the island. This is Salix lanata on the island, and that was the plant that was this lovely silver salix that we planted there, and now it's contained in there, and we've got the Dactylorhizas growing there. Really nice. So there are lots of Dactylorhizas, and there's grasses and sedges, and they really are populating that quite intensively themselves. The birch and the vacciniums I'll take out. I don't want them there. So that's the plan. We'll go from the soft edge and view across the pond to the island, and then across beyond that, beyond those trees and pots, to the other new bed, which we'll just walk round to now. Navigate my way through my work site. Still things in the way. This is another pine growing in a trough, which used to sit over there, which I haven't decided where I'll move it to yet. So here we come to the new bed, which is getting to a stage of needing refinement. It's getting nearly ready. We've got a bit to do yet, and it's to get it planted up. But you can already start to see the idea of the layout. So we've got the Ramonda trough, which is, I accidentally zoomed there, the Ramonda trough, which is landscaped with slabs, broken paving slabs, and then I've continued the broken paving slabs over here, but putting them at almost right angles, and those Ramonda cuttings will come right down through there. Looking out Hepaticas, chance find in the pot of Trillium seedlings. There was Hepatica seedlings as well. So down this edge we've got the parallel lines of strata, starting with the concrete block and then running into volcanic and granite, and that will come down along this edge and finishing in this small trough which forms that edge. It's got a similar landscape. That's a wee trough that I moved down from the other area to make that corner edge. Then along this edge we have another trough here, which will have the same line, and that's sort of roughly drafted out. It's not finished yet. I think I'll raise that, the height of, put some more infill into that and get the rocks a wee bit higher because it will settle. So we've got the sharp rocks, the lines of strata at this side, and as you go up to the top of the hill you start to go onto water-worn boulders, which continues down over the other side of the hill over to that edge, and then we'll just plant it all up. And I do like it that we can see it from all angles, whichever angle you look at it. So mostly you'll come at it through the gate, so this is the angle you see, so you come onto it as a diagonal rather than onto a flat face. And I always like coming onto a diagonal. Do you like coming onto a diagonal, Molly? Molly likes it, but you're not allowed to walk on it. So starting to plant, we've got a rhododendron cephalanthum cutting here. These are cuttings I took a few years ago. They're now ready to be planted out. And we have over there, we walk round this side, past the ramondas and the grasses and the ferns. This is the sort of idea I want to have coming up the wild bit. So there'll be a wild bit here coming over, and we come round down here, another rhododendron cutting, rhododendron dendrocaris. And rhododendron dendrocaris, you can see how rich and humusy the soil is. Really nice stuff, isn't that? That's sort of, with grit through it. It's really, you just want, real gardeners just want to feel their soil. So the rhododendron dendrocaris, and you can see how the views change as you get a view across there and across the pond. So getting down and seeing these views, seeing the mounds. So I'm quite pleased with how it looks before there's many plants in at all. Round here is the bed I'm wanting to sort of, it's a progression from this bed to that bed, the new one. So this is the raised wall. Rhododendron dendrocaris, this is the parent plant, quite an old plant. And over on that edge is the wee cephalanthum crabifolium. And if we come along the wall, this is the idea, is that the planting style in the field will continue from this wall round here across the path, across this bed. Should be planted up, erythroniums and trilliums beyond, up at the back there, and round across to the pond, and then around the pond with now that new interesting marginal bed beyond the willow island, the salix island. This trough out here I've kept as a sort of punctuation mark. It's a little feature. I decided not to include it in the edge, but leave it standing, raised up with an edge. Salmisias and plants growing around. Around here some of the ruscoias, a wee ruscoia humiana down there, round past the Meconopsis. So let's just move round this bed to see the other views. So these beds are raised up, the wall is created using these rounded boulders, so that will absolutely reflect what we see up there, and the planting here of Trillium rivale down this face. Here's a plant of Trillium rivale. Oh my goodness, look at that. Never miss the chance to take out a weed when you see it. So Trillium rivale coming down there, and that will pick up over the top of the bed. When these lilies and Meconopsis and Dactylorhizas aren't up, so early in the year you'll get a much clearer view and be able to link this bed here with its dwarf ericaceous and dwarf plantains, and there'll be a very similar planting up there in the new bed over there. So there's a new bed, and that will reflect absolutely, and it will be typical because you'll have some of the same bulbs. You'll have the wee rhododendron cephalanthum here, this beautiful, very compact. This is quite an old plant. This is about at least 15 years old. There's a little late flower on it. could be even more than, it could be 20 or more. And then rhododendron dendrocaris, similar sort of age with good old plants. So, and there'll be, the cuttings of those are growing in the bed over there. And the pines reflected in the pines, so it all links in, one into the other. And that's a beautiful thing about a garden. It's never finished. There's always changes you can make. You can always make additions or subtractions, modifications. Always the traces of what the earlier work will be there. And I think that's the fun. That's what makes gardening so interesting. That it never stops. It's never finished. You can't finish a garden.